Hello and welcome to Fly-by-Wire Simulations Out of the Hangar special episode here on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Kiwi, your host, and with me today I have some members of the team who are here to speak a bit about the A380X, share their experience on producing such an aircraft, and share some important information you should know before development opens up. From left to right on your screen, we have myself, Kiwi, Andreas, BBK, Floridude, Gurgle, and Mav. So I'll be referring to these people on the stream. They're all part of the Fly-by-Wire team, and you'll be speaking to them later in the Q&A. At the end of the stream, the Q&A session will be held with the team members. So on the chat, you will see a pinned note with the Q&A link. Please do go over to that link and make sure to submit your questions to us. We have a team working behind the scenes to collate the most upvoted and reoccurring questions today, so please do submit them and we'll come back to them later. Keep in mind that due to high demand, we may pause submissions whilst they process what you have already. So get them in early so you're not disappointed. First though, before we go on to the Q&A later, we want to explain a little bit about what you should expect from the A380X upon release. With this being such a complex aircraft with unique systems, we need to be realistic on what you will experience on the simulator. So I'll pass you to Floridude to take you through some important bits.
Yeah, gladly. Hi. So if you haven't read our recent NOTAM yet, I'd really encourage you to do so. There's extensive information on what to expect and basically what we want to achieve with this release. So go to our webpage and check out the NOTAM. I'm sure there's lots of interesting information for you. But of course, we're also giving you a short rundown of all the information here. And what we want to emphasize is basically that the release, and you'll probably hear this repeated by us throughout the stream, this will be in an open alpha stage. So the aircraft can operate normally on an A to B flight on VATSIM. This is what we tested extensively during the last weeks. And of course, we're also happy for you to try it out as soon as it's released. So however, and this is also important, you should not expect a completely bug-free experience. There's still lots of areas where we are still improving on and keep on developing. And of course, I mean, that's what we do, and then that's what we're here for. We would also be happy about external contributors or testers to join us. Just to state two examples where you might experience some issues right now is, for example, the climb performance is currently exceptionally good. So, you're going to experience climb rates above 5,000 feet per minute. So we figured out the thrust needed for taxi and during cruise quite well. But right now, during the climb phase, pretty much our engine is a little bit overpowered. So you'll experience that. And also, what we also wrote in the NOTAM, if you try to exceed the flight envelope limitations deliberately, there is a good chance you'll succeed, or there is a chance you'll succeed. So stay within normal law, within some margins, and you should be fine. But on the other hand, of course, and that's what you also highlighted in our NOTAM, we are going to have some really exciting features in our A380X. And some of them have even never been seen before in a home flight sim. For example, we have brake to vacate, we have the runway overrun warning and protection systems. We have the onboard airport navigation systems displaying an airport map on your navigation display. We have an eCam with normal procedures, also referred as to the electronic checklists, where you can go through the different stages of the flight. And also we managed to put some abnormal procedures in there, so some eCam faults. And on top of that, we also have a custom flight management system with the accurate pilot interface and the multifunction display, which allows you to accurately fly procedures while also flying online, for example. We have an accurate simulation of flight control services and the actuation involved and actually all the forces which are behind that. We also, as part of that, have a wing, rudder, and elevator flag simulation, also based on physics and developed quite extensively as well. And we didn't plan for this initially, but you can also trigger around 140 failures to the EFB at the moment. So I think these are all features we can be really excited for. And personally, we're also really excited to show this to you. And I think we should also not forget our realistic model and textures. So our model and texturing team, they worked really thousands of hours into basically that we can have a highly immersive experience inside the cockpit and also in a lot of other parts of the aircraft. So as soon as you have it, really make sure that you can take a stroll through every corner of the cockpit and also the cabin, and really excited for you to see that. And to also maybe emphasize this again, we are releasing an open alpha, but we want to make clear that it'll be available for everyone. So everyone can download our version as soon as we release it on the installer. And we basically want to take the same approach as in the early A380X days. So everyone can fly the aircraft. And we'd of course be even more happy if people decide to contribute to our project, either by developing software or by improving the flight and the engine model, or by also joining our test team, which is basically there to test any changes we have before merging them onto our main development path. So just join our Discord server and you can find out there. You can find out more there, and we'd be really happy to maybe see some new faces after this. And if we are talking about the different phases and the release strategy behind it, let's hear from Kiwi about the intention behind the NODEM and the stream, and also some communication aspects.
Thank you very much. Just a quick note first. We know that the Q&A link is not working at the moment. The team in the background are working hard to get the link going again. We think we might have overloaded it a little bit, so we do apologise. We will get the quick Q&A up as soon as possible. But yes, announcement stages. So you may have noticed some time between our NOTAM and the announcement for this stream. We have done this on purpose due to the nature of our project. As you know, we're all volunteers. And our spare time is taken to work on the project. So to ensure that we are ready to release a product that we know we've filled the criteria, we've taken the steps to go through quality gates throughout this launch with go, no go from the full team, so that we're certain that we'll deliver a product that is in an alpha stage in the points that we want it to be, filling the criteria that we've already noted. And talking about delivering, I want to talk about the infrastructure regarding accessing the A380. So on release day, it will be accessible via the installer. But as with everything in our organization, the installer, download, and API infrastructure is maintained and monitored by volunteers. And this infrastructure is based on industry best practices and uses services like Cloudflare, which are designed to handle high load. However, just as with the aircraft, we want to manage expectations a bit and warn that delays and slowdowns might happen. We have potentially just crashed the Q&A, so that gives you kind of an example of the demand that we're seeing for this. So the team will be monitoring and doing their utmost best to try and avoid it. But if you do have issues on the release day, please do let us know by the support channels, and we'll do our best to support you. So that's what you can expect from the for the A380X, what you can expect it to do and why we have done what we have done so far. So I think hopefully you'll understand the process of why we've staggered the announcements that we have done. So we're now going to go on to the 4 years of development. So as you know, many of you have been here from the start with the A380X from the origins of Microsoft Flight Simulator through to now, which has been an incredible 4 years. With me today on the stream, we have several members of the team who have been working on the A380X. And some of them have been in full for the 4 years here, and others have only been here for a year or so and joined us quite late on to then work on the aircraft. So I'm going to pass you on over to Gurgle now and just see what does it mean to you that we are now at this final stage of closed development?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for me, the reaching of the end of the closed development is a reminder that what a dedicated group of people can do as a team. For me, for example, it started roughly 2 years ago when I bought MSFS 2020, and I started looking into fly-by-wire because I knew them already before, and I was interested in this whole coding of airplanes in MSFS. So I looked at GitHub and was getting familiar with the code, and then I started to take some simple tasks. For example, simple task. I implemented the physics of the PTU based on Davy's simulations, and also I did improve the bleed system a little bit from PPK. And yeah, and then I was gracefully already invited into the team, and I started looking into different other tasks. For example, the electrical system of the A380X, which had some rough edges at some points. Yeah, and then I was also looking into then implementing the electrical system for the A380, which I built from ground up. So this was a really cool experience. Also learned a lot of stuff. And yeah, so, and now I have a good feeling that it will be a cool product. And yeah, so before MSFS, I had a long pause from flight simming because I used FSX before, and then it didn't run anymore, and then I lost the flying aspect of it. And yeah, and I think Floydwood had the same experience as me, that he made a long pause before MSFS. So maybe you want to talk about what your experience is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I think we were kind of similar in that aspect that so we had FSX and enjoyed it quite a lot, but then we kind of lost track of it, or maybe had a little pause in between. And as you, Gergel, I discovered MSFS 2020 shortly after release and kind of got hooked again. And so I started it, I think, around maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. And started with like flying around a little bit, but I wanted to kind of do more. And so I stumbled, I think it's pretty much the right word. So I stumbled upon fly-by-wire because I wasn't in the community as much. And I discovered it in March 23. And it seemed very interesting because I don't develop software as a main job anymore, but I still love creating software. And I might be not the best at it. I'm pretty sure I caused some headaches in my early tries. But over the time, you get into it more and more, and you all also like discover your old skills. That was really cool to see. And I started with smaller changes on the A380X. But since the A380X project was a thing back then also, I was really interested in working on that as well. So I spoke to Holland, one of our avionics developers, and I got the chance to build the multifunction display user interface, so the pilot interface for the flight management system, and kind of built this from the ground up with a lot of his guidance at first. And I really got hooked into developing because the developer experience was really good. We had mature build and development workflows. You can even like develop code live and kind of live reload them in the sim, so without any big reload cycles and so on. And also we had so many systems from the A380X that it was kind of easy to copy them over at first and then kind of improve and tailor them from there on. So that was really cool to see, and it's really a lot of fun developing in the sim. And so initially I kind of tested the multifunction display in the A380X. I just used the primary flight display for it because there wasn't a model available back then. But shortly after, I got invited into the A380X team and ported the multifunction display there, and basically got involved in lots of other systems and instruments. So I got to know like quite a lot of aspects of the aircraft, and also learned a lot about the aircraft itself and its operation in the real world, which was also a lot of fun on the side, pretty much. And I was also kind of able to bring in experience from a main job in organizing some aspects of our development. And I think if I would have to break it down, that's kind of the true strength of volunteer teams. So you have diverse teams with really vast experience in a lot of fields, and they all offer their knowledge for free, and they all work on this, and they are really, really driven by it. And that was really cool to see, like such a big team coming together and doing such amazing work. And if I would have to talk about last week's. I've been primarily also working on some autopilot and autothrust aspects. And that's basically where I stumbled upon Andreas' name a lot, because he kind of laid the groundwork for that. And so I want to lead over to Andreas. How did you come to fly-by-wire, and also why?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's quite a while back when I started in the fly-by-wire team, and I mean my starting point back in time was really that flying with the Airbus, with the default Airbus in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was kind of annoying me because it was very hard to land, especially on roll control. And yeah, then I discovered, oh, there's a cool project. There are cool people modifying this plane, and I got to the Discord and was involved there, and then I basically started implementing a custom fly-by-wire system on my PC and trying how this could work, and that was basically the starting point, because it went much more well than I thought. And yeah, at some point, I got it working and integrated into the plane, and yeah, that was my starting point. And it was quick. It was very quick then that I implemented then the autopilot and also the autothrust system, because it was also not so working as we expected it. And yeah, we had really crazy times, and it was, I would say, it was so cool to meet so many wonderful people, with so much experience in all these areas, and so that was a really cool journey. And I mean, I started. I thought when in the preparation of the stream, I thought, when did I start actually with Microsoft Flight Simulator? And I think it was really the number 2 on Atari ST, and I mean that was of the age of 10. And I think I even was not knowing what I'm doing there, right? So I thought, clocks, what is this? What is this doing? And that stuff. But I was always keen on the Airbus side, so I was always interested in the fly-by-wire itself, how this works, and I tried in the past already to implement this before, and yeah, so it was a long journey also for me to get into this, and it was now also a personal learning path to get into control theory, and and also to learn how to operate such a thing, right? So we had people flying this plane. I implemented then this flight data recorder, which records a lot of data, hundreds of parameters that we can get later on to make some analysis. And yeah, and nowadays, I mean, it's even cooler. So I step back a bit. Yeah, I come back sometimes a little bit more and a little bit less. But it's really cool that we have now also this team, which is capable of working on these systems, has grown a lot. So Lucas, Ibrahim, and Floridud can also now work on this system, and so it changed hands to other people, and yeah, that's something that is really cool. And one of the areas I would say I'm still doing most of the time is the autoland feature. So the flare law and this stuff, that's mostly my job. And that's critically it about my experience there. And yeah, so, and I was, to be honest, so at the beginning point, when the team said, okay, we are doing an A380, while the A320 was, I think, not in a in a very good shape. It was very early in this stuff. I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on there, right? And to be honest, when I see now the result, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool what has been done by this team and these people. And I'm trying it also in VR, the A380X. So I'm flying most of the time in VR, and I tell you, it's really a crazy feeling sitting in this big cockpit and navigating this plane on the ground. It's fascinating. Yeah. So look forward to it.
You must feel like a real pilot in the VR. That would be pretty cool to have, to be honest. Has any of the team here actually flown on the A380 in the past? At all? Has anyone experienced that?
I was flying
And
to San Francisco.
Just a special mention for our friend Boris, who has worked on the sounds, as people know, for the A320X, who has also worked on the sounds on the A380X, and is continuing to develop them. In your experience, to the guys on the stream now, what's your thoughts on the sounds so far? And are you looking forward to, Boris, refining them even further to really bring the aircraft even more real?
Yeah, so it's been really amazing hearing the sounds in the sim. So I had the chance to fly on an A380 flight, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so I would say my memory is still quite recent of that. And if you compare the sounds we have in the sim right now to the sounds basically in the real aircraft, it sounds really similar and even like indistinguishable. So hearing the engine spool out during takeoff and hearing the trends, the Rolls-Royce trends war, is really, really something like a really good experience. And also all the minute details of the cockpit sounds and the different actuators and the different vents we have in there. It's really, really cool to hear.
Yeah, brilliant. So his work is really impressive, and the people know, the people have already spoken about this in the past, and they're really passionate about how well the sounds are in the A320X. So you know what you're going to expect in the A380X is the same level of detail that is going to be implemented. Right now, that level of detail might not be there in all areas, but we know that Boris is continuing to refine and perfect the sounds in multiple areas. So keep that in mind when the A380X does release. Just one question to throw out to the team. I'll throw it out to Gurgle first. What are you most looking forward to after the release? So once we do release the aircraft, what are you looking forward to do or see, or what's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm seeing forward that the community finally gets the hand on the A380, to be honest. And also, well, yeah, that's what I would like to see.
Brilliant. Florida dude?
Yeah, pretty much the same, I would say. So that's what we're all working towards really, really hard, that the community can finally experience this. And let me tell you, it was not easy. We spent a lot of time on really making sure that it's something that the community will enjoy. And I think also the people are going to really, really like flying the A380 because it's also such a well-designed aircraft with so many cool features for pilots, so many cool systems. So it's really joy to fly.
Great, thank you very much. As you know, these aren't the only developers for the A380X. We have a huge team that have been behind it, and some of the team that wish to be on the stream today were not able to. And some of them were the modelers of the A380X, which is an absolute marvel to, if I do say so, because of the complexity of the aircraft itself and the sheer size in the sim. So I give a special shout out to Repsol and Mike for the modelling and the textures of the aircraft. As you will see a little bit later in the Q&A, you'll see some of the images from the simulator of the A380X most recently. So you'll be able to appreciate some of the detail that's explained or shown there. So I am going to move on. The next thing is the Q&A. However, before we get to the Q&A and finish off our stream for today, we have one more thing to bring you. We have proactively displayed the development of the A380X from its early stages of modelling 4 years ago to the recent wing flex and system depth development. We have grown a love for this aircraft more than we ever had before, and we think it's time for you to love it as much as we do. So, pilots, grab your flight bag and spool up your engines. The A380X Alpha will be ready to take off on October the 31st, 2024. And you'll be able to download it through the installer, the same as you do for the A320X. Alongside this release, the development will continue openly on GitHub. This is an alpha release, as we have noted in our NOTAM. This means that we want to escalate the development to really start progressing on some of the detail. Much like the A320X, this aircraft is releasing in a similar position as we started on the A320X. And so please do expect what we have already mentioned with what systems will be functioning and what might be coming later on. But we will be releasing on October the 31st. So hopefully that will answer a big bulk of the Q&A of when the aircraft will be releasing. And we now, if you're in our Discord, we can now release the .when command to pretty much not use that ever again, hopefully. But yes, that's the news you have been waiting for, that the A380X Alpha will be releasing on October the 31st. So we'll now go on to the Q&A. The Q&A link did work eventually, so we do have questions coming in now. So as we go into the questions, first of all, we'll go on to one to Floridude. Will there be a cabin in the A380X?
Yes, there's going to be a cabin. So I'm kind of answering this on behalf of Repsol because he can't join unfortunately today. So it's mainly the work of Repsol and Mike, and it's really amazing what they did there, and I'm really excited for it. So we are going to have a cabin, which is pretty much all done except the business class right now. This is still a work in progress. But from my point of view, it still looks spectacular, and you'll be able to experience it.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Next question is pretty much going back to you, is about the paint kit. So we know that many of our community would like to create their own liveries for the aircraft. So will there be a paint kit available?
Also, the short answer, depending on what you're trying to do. So we are going to release an OBJ file. So some of our experts know how to pretty much what this means already. So in short, you can use the OBJ file to load in the Substance Painter and create your liveries, basically. And what we're also trying to do, but there's no full commitment right now, but we're really trying hard to release this as well, is a PSD file, so a Photoshop file with layers and a wireframe in it, and also a blank white livery. So you can start painting pretty much as soon as the aircraft releases.
There we go. Thank you very much. BBK, were you all developers prior, or did you learn as you went along with the A380X and the A320X? I would go along with. And how could someone, if they wanted to, how could someone get involved with the with developing with us?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I'm not a developer before developing the plane, the A320X and the A380X. I don't do this as a job. It's more as a hobby, and I started as a hobby. I had smaller projects before to learn how to code and to work on little things. I started developing for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 when I learned about the A320X, and I thought it was a really cool project, and I followed the development progress quite closely before I actually started contributing myself. And then to answer maybe the second part of the question, how does one get involved? I can answer how I got involved. So the best thing to do, honestly, is just to look at our GitHub. This is where we store all of the source code. This is where you can see all of the contributions that have been made so far. If you're a developer, you will know what this means. And to anyone wanting to get involved and wanting to learn how to code, I also encourage you to learn how to code with the project or maybe with smaller projects. and just have a look at our GitHub. We have a list of open issues to solve. There's plenty of open issues to solve, and we welcome every contribution. We welcome all, even very small contributions. This is kind of what Fly-by-Wire is built upon, essentially. And yeah, just pick out any issue that you want to fix, be it ever so small, a typo, a small change in the logic somewhere, an if statement, and just send us a PR. Then one of the maintainers of the repo will have a look at your code, and then it will hopefully be tested and merged into the main version of the aircraft, of either of the aircraft, I have to say now, because as a small advertisement maybe, we also welcome contributions to the A380X, now even more so that you have the ability to test it on your own machine on the 31st.
Excellent, thank you very much. Mav, will we be publishing a SimBrief profile on release or just after release? Will the community be expecting one very soon?
Yes, we have already one, and we will also launch our docs website, at least the beginner's guide, which also will have a SimBrief section where you can download via the link the profile you can use for SimBrief.
Brilliant, thank you. And Andreas, you mentioned earlier about you using VR in the simulator on the A380X. And we have a question here about VR support for the aircraft. So do you want to explain a little bit about your experience and if there's any limitations?
Sure, I'm happy to do so. Yeah, so you can fly with it pretty decently, so it's not really an issue. It's still saying that it's not fully supported in VR, so there's always this message box that comes up, so everyone flying in VR knows this pretty well, but that's it basically. So you can fly the plane as you should do it. There might be some smaller things that are maybe not optimal yet, but overall I can do a full VATSIM flight in VR with this plane. It's quite heavy on performance maybe, yeah, so I had some issues combined with some airports around Frankfurt, I would say. But in general, it's pretty decent and it works well. So it's quite fun to do so.
In terms of your setup, what PC do you have to run the VR?
So I have RTX 4090 and Intel 30900K. So it's pretty decent, but I would say if you go not on God mode in virtual desktop and go to Ultra, and yeah, then it's pretty good. And I can tell you that I tried to load it in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 when we had this tech alpha, and the performance will be so much better. So we will see. But it was still the tech alpha. We will see how the final version will be, but it worked pretty well, and it was even better on the on performance. It was really, really decent. I mean, I cannot tell in VR, obviously, because it was disabled, but even in 2D, the performance was so much better that, yeah, I think it will be fine.
Brilliant, thank you. I think it's important to note as well for MSFS 2024, the aircraft from 2020 are expected to be backwards compatible. However, you might find that the aircraft, when you go into sim, might not be fully functional. So the team, I'm sure, will be working quite hard in the background when the new simulator releases to bring full compatibility for the A380X in the new simulator, and really taking advantage of that advanced performance as well. So it's great to hear that the A380X is performing well in the new simulator. Shows a really bright future for the aircraft. I was going to go quickly to Floridude now about the cabin. So you'll see pictures now on screen, which will show some bits of the cabin. So Floridude, do you want to explain a little bit about the cabin on the A380X?
Yeah, sure. So unfortunately, I can't see the stream right now, so I'm just going to do it blindly. But basically, what you're going to see is in cabin models after our reference aircraft, which is from Emirates. And what you're going to see is basically, of course, a fully detailed cockpit with very, very minute details on textures and wear and tear and so on. And in the cabin, if you go backwards, then you're going to see on the lower floor the premium economy cabin and the economy cabin. Also with some very distinct patterns there and basically really, really true to life. And if you go on the upper floor, you will then see the first class and the business class. And so basically for zero money, you will get the chance to sit in the first class or business class seat on an A380 in the upper deck, which I think is also maybe a little advantage of what we're building here.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Go over to BBK now. What did you find most enjoyable about building this aircraft?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I'd like to circle back a bit to the answer I gave earlier about what I did before and sort of how I got involved. I think, when you start contributing, you start noticing that there's actually a huge number of things, features and bug fixes that need to be done to complete an aircraft like this. I think all of us on the development team and also contributors have noticed this as they contributed their part. And in a way, this is very daunting, I think, because you're standing in front of a huge mountain that you have to climb. But it's also quite motivating because every feature or every bug fix that you complete, that you're one step closer. And, once you get that PR in, once you merge that piece of code into the aircraft for everyone to download and you see people using it in the plane, I think you get feedback and you get feedback from people saying, I've waited on this feature for so long, thank you for implementing it. And just hearing people's reactions is so incredibly rewarding to me. And I think something that is kind of addicting in a way as well, because you want to go back to that feeling and you want to keep contributing, and also you want to see the aircraft grow more. And unfortunately, I don't have that much time to fly the aircraft myself, but then if I do get to fly it every once in a while, it's all the more enjoyable to see how far the aircraft has come, and it's motivating to keep contributing. And maybe also a bit of encouragement to people looking into contributing. Please do take that step forward. Please do submit your pull requests. They're always welcome, and it's an incredible feeling to get your piece of code merged. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Mav, over to you now. What features will not be there first on arrival? So we've explained a little bit about this earlier, but it'll be good to reiterate for people who may have skipped to the Q&A. What can they expect from the A380X when they first get their hands on it?
Before or instead of going through all the list of what we call inoperative systems, basically, I think it's good to know for everybody. We will have a list on the GitHub and on our docs page where you can always go in and look which of the systems are not yet done. We also have a positive list for all the features which are done. So going through that list always helps, especially if you think, do I have a bug? Is there an issue with the aircraft? Go to that list, double check if it's done or not, and then you can reiterate. Otherwise, there are quite a few things, especially all the additional stuff which is not necessarily required for a WATSIM A to B flight. Are not all done. Some of them are done halfway, some of them are done not at all yet. So there's still a lot of work to do, but as we always said, A to B on WATSIM is our target, and this is possible now.
Excellent, thank you very much. Going to go back to Floridude now. On screen right now, we are showing quite a lot of images of the Break to Vacate and OANS features. So, do we need Navigraph for OANS and Break to Vacate, or will it be free to use for the community?
Very good. Thank you for the question. So BTV is a feature where we are really excited to bring this to you. And what we can say right now is that you will be able to operate BTV with or without a Navigraph subscription. So if you do not have a Navigraph Ultimate subscription, you can enter the desired braking distance manually in the navigation display. There will be a prompt for it as soon as you go into the zoom setting. And if you do have a Navigraph Ultimate subscription and you link it via the EFB, then you can use the onboard airport navigation display to visually select a runway and also select an exit, and this will then show you the exact distance and the runway occupancy time and so on.
Excellent, thank you. It's a very, very much anticipated feature when people found that we were producing the A380X, so it's impressive to see it in the simulator, and we have been working with Navigraph behind the scenes to fix any anomalies and make sure it did work efficiently, and we'll continue to do that as we continue to develop the aircraft. So it's not in its final state; it will be worked on further. Back to you again, Florrie. There's a question about the aircraft being able to fly A to B on VATSIM. So they have released their new code of conduct regulations. So will this aircraft comply with that? Does it support CP, DLC? Holdings, diversions, approaches, autoland, etc. Is the aircraft able to do these things, or do we expect a workaround?
Yeah, thank you, Kiwi. So yes, we are going to support the new COC regulations. For example, you can tune 121.5 on the second VHF channel, but you have to listen to all of the VHF channels, so activate 1 through 3. Due to a current vPilot limitation, so a limitation within the VATSIM vPilot software right now. But yes, you will be able to comply with the new CC regulations. We do not support CPDLC at the moment, though, because we don't have an in-aircraft display and a system for that yet. This will come in the future. But our flight management system is able to support holdings. We can support diversions, all different kinds of approaches in Autoland. So you might not see the FLS right now, the FMS landing system, which is an A380 specialty, but you will be able to fly the normal approaches, I would say. So yeah.
Yep. Maybe a short notice about the Autoland from my side. So it has been initially tuned a bit, but it's not in the area, I would say. So it might happen that it's a little bit hard, or especially in crosswind, that it's not working that well. It should get you down well, but it's not on the level I would expect it. But it takes a lot of time to do that. So I need a lot of Autolands to perform to get this right, I would say. And as the flight model is, as you heard before, is still in progress a bit, I'm waiting a bit to settle for that a bit more, and then I would tune it, of course, and then you get the Autoland performance you are used to from fly-by-wire.
Excellent, thank you very much. And we know you're doing a lot of work around the engines, much like you did with the A380X, and we know that's been a very, very well appreciated part of the project. Just one question out there to those who have flown the aircraft. I'm guessing that you all have in the simulator. Are you able to feel the heaviness of the aircraft, like physically? Does it feel heavy when you're taking off, when you're landing and maneuvering? I'm going to throw this out there to everyone to see what your thoughts are. Chip in where you can.
Yeah, sure. I think this might be interesting for maybe at least Andreas and me to answer. I can do the first part. So on ground, you will for certain feel the heaviness of the aircraft when taxiing. So it needs a little bit more thrust, and also you need to be really slow around the corners. Otherwise, it's just skidding. In the air, we're really trying hard to optimize the fly-by-wire system at the moment. So we do have a group of type-rated pilots who kind of advise us on the accuracy of the simulation. And so from their feedback, it flies really well, although there's, of course, still lots to be improved. Because as a side bit, it doesn't really feel that heavy when you fly it, because the flight-by-wire system is tuned as such that it kind of feels similar to A380 or A319 sometimes. That's what some people say. But of course, this is very subjective, and I think Andreas can add a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's right. It feels a lot light, I would say. Yeah, if you fly it, the plane feels lighter in the air than on ground. And what you feel obviously is that when you initiate a roll, there's more inertia. So, but once it starts turning, it's quite agile, I would say. So it feels quite light, you could say. And I mean, there are some differences to the A320, obviously, in the flight control system. So the computer have a different structure. And what is maybe the most you will feel on landing is that the landing is different than on the A320. So the A320 has a flare law, which is pitch attitude law. That means a certain stick deflection corresponds to a certain pitch angle, and that is then reduced over 8 seconds, starting at 30 feet and this stuff. So, and you all know this, when you have flown the A320 with the landing, sometimes it can be hard. And on the A380, this is different. So the A380 has a direct law in the flare, and it flies quite different. And be prepared to flare a little bit earlier maybe than you are used to, because you are sitting quite high. So it's a very, very cool feeling. So yeah, I'm keen to see how you will experience this, and how your landings will be, and how you train it and yourself to it. And yeah, that will be much of a joy, I think.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We just have one point to make before I ask this final question, because I'm sure it's the most important question that we have. We do have a quality assurance team that we want to make sure that we maintain throughout our development. So I'm just going to pass you over to Mav to talk a little bit about the QA team, and to say what support that you could provide us in the community, and maybe join the team in the future. So over to you, Mav.
Yeah, happy to take that. So as people who are following us for a little bit longer with the A380X know that we have a process. Basically, when a developer wants to add new features, change something in the aircraft, we really have a QA process behind it. So anything that goes to our development version has gone through the QA team, and we have quite a few dedicated people who basically take these what it's called a pull request, these changes to the aircraft, to the code, and test them rigorously in the sim. And we always want to have new people, new blood in there to come in and help us out there, especially now with the A380 being public. This will be very crucial. So if you want to join the QA team, or even the development team, there's a link on our docs page. It's called the Development Corner. There you find information about the QA team, how to apply, what it is you have to do, and also for the same for development. So if you're interested, join us, go to the doc site, look up the links, and contact us on Discord.
Brilliant, thank you very much, and please do. It is a really good team to work for, volunteer for, and it's not only helping the community, but it also helps yourself in working with such a big team and a variety of people from around the world. I'm sure we've all learned a massive amount whilst being here, and will continue to do so in the future. I just got one last question to throw out there before we finish the stream for today, and it's probably the most important one, I feel, for the day. Will the toilet flush? I mean, I don't know whether we've got sounds for it, but... Mav?
Yeah.
I've never heard it before, so I've been flying the plane for quite some time, so I've never heard it. That's an awesome question.
Yeah. So I don't think it does, but yeah, okay.
I mean,
Maybe you
But
can
maybe
do
we
a
can
feature
motivate
request. You can do a feature request for that one, and or even you can maybe that's for the people being very interested to that. Maybe that's a good starting point to learn how it works. So come on to Discord and to GitHub and make a proposal how to do it, and we can help you in that. So
awesome. Yeah. So like we said before, the GitHub will be fully opened, but you'll be able to raise an issue if you want to say that the toilet doesn't flush, and we can see what we can do and work with you for that. I'm not really sure why we want that, but hey ho, there we go. That has been the special stream for the A380X and the release announcement that you have all been waiting for. So we hope this has been the news you have wished for, and we look forward to sharing our product with you and continuing development into the future. It looks bright with the new simulator, looks even brighter. And I want to thank every one of you for joining us today on our stream. And I thank the team, Andreas, BBK, Florida, Gurgle, and Mav, for joining me today, talking about your experience and explaining a little bit about the product to our community. It's very much appreciated by myself and everyone watching. So that's all we have for today. If you have any other questions in the future, please do contact us via the Discord and we'll be sure to answer any questions there. You'll also find the support channel in Discord available for the A380X for when that does release. So please make sure you go there if you do need any additional support in the simulator. But other than that, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.